Rob, Rob, over the years, you've done many, many different types of appeals on many, many different personal injury cases. And one of the areas that let's talk about is we've done them on slip and falls, trip and falls. And I like to say, Rob, it's to a certain extent, it's the graveyard. It's where cases sometimes go to die at the appellate division where they get dismissed because there hasn't been a good record established down below, correct?
That's correct.
And so, Rob, I know we've had cases where we've had trip and falls, right, where someone trips over something, or a slip and fall. And, in a slip and fall scenario or trip and fall scenario, it's different from a car accident. So you don't have, let's say, a rear end collision. If you hit someone in the rear, you're liable. All right, the rules of the road say, hey, don't hit someone in the rear.
Right.
If you make a left turn in front of somebody and you cause it, if you're driving, fast, you drive into somebody, those are clear. But slip and falls and trip and falls are their own little world, right?
That's correct.
And Rob has done a lot of appellate work on them. And so let's kind of talk about some of the places where the problems come. So I'll get a client, they'll come to me, and they don't understand why when I go over the details of it and I'm talking to them and I'm saying to them, okay, where were you coming from? Where were you going? What were you looking at? What did this defect look like? Did you see the defect? What time was it? And Rob, those facts, right? Things like that factor into, let's say, a slip or a trip and fall, right? And tell the people why.
Well, getting into you wanting to know what time of day, often, whether it's outside, what's the lighting outside? Is the sun impacting your view of where you're walking? Is it basically obscuring the defect? Is it illuminating the defect? If it's night out, is there some type of lighting to basically call out that defect? So those are important questions that an attorney wants to know the answer to in evaluating a case.
And so really, again, the idea here is when the attorney is listening to it, or you're coming in, are they listening? And are they getting those facts? And the reason facts are oftentimes important are sometimes things can change. So let's say we have a defect, and let's say that there's a hole in a parking lot. Well, if you don't go to see the lawyer early enough, then no one gets to take a look at that hole and to see, well, what does that hole really look like? Is it 3 inches where no one or an owner would not be able to see it was there, or was it 3 feet? Right, Rob? And
correct.
And so those are facts that they don't seem to make a difference to you. All you know is you tripped and you fell. Well, for a lawyer that has to represent you in this area, if they're examining it, they need to know those facts. And the earlier you get to the lawyer, it's important. So then when the case goes through the process of litigation, when the defendant maybe makes a motion and says, well, no reasonable owner could have seen this particular defect, if we're not paying attention to the details and you're not prepared well for your deposition so that you answer appropriately and answer fully, then what happens is someone like Rob now has to try to defend the case. And now the defendants are saying, well, this was not a defect that anybody could see, as an example. Now, what might be left out, maybe there was a fact, as Rob said, that what time was it? What was the weather like at the time? Okay, would it make a difference, Rob, right? If you had a hole, and let's say, Rob, it was a rainy day, and the rain actually now is coming down so hard, Rob, that it filled the hole. Right, Rob? So that would make a difference versus you would not being able to see the hole, depending on the size, and being able to see it, right? So a fact like that simply could change the whole case.
Absolutely. You need to know all the facts, and a lot of times you'll see clients, whether they're talking to their own attorney or whether they're answering questions in depositions, often they're trying to figure out, why is an attorney asking me these questions? And can you always say the devil is in the details? And for clients that have been injured, it's really important. that you pay attention to your surroundings. If you're involved in an accident, you want to take a look at the surroundings, and you want to be able to recite as much as what you can recall, take pictures, do whatever to show what the conditions were at the time of your accident. It's going to come back, and it's going to be valuable to you down the road.
Sometimes, and it's really great, is I'll walk into Rob's office and I'll have a newer client or I'll have a new case. And I'll sort of bounce it off of him. And I'll say to him, Rob, I got this client, they're coming in, and this is what I heard on the telephone. I'm going to ask him more questions. And Rob will give me sort of some focus in terms of, well, ask about something, because this fact may just turn the case if it does or doesn't exist. And so, it's funny that, when people come and say, well, I know someone that blank. And, Rob and I always say is, well, every case is different.